Assalamu alaikum. Before the start of the Jummah, few announcements. We have basically we are continue to accept donations. Please donate generously for the new construction, also the running of the current masjid. Use Mohit link and online payments, and also the boxes while you walking outside, inshallah. And also, again, a reminder, please join our newsletter, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need your support. YouTube channel has a lot of good information and all the recordings of the Jummah. There's a live stream. So please let your friends and family members know that our YouTube channel has a lot of good stuff on. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. 2025 calendars are available. While you're walking out, please grab one. They are by the entrance. Also, the Sufra Quranic Education and Learning Center is opening soon on 75 and 121. Please do check it out. Sheikh Jabali is still recovering from his surgery and recent admission, and he's still recovering, and he needs your prayers. Please do remember him in your prayers. It's Friday. Some events this week. We have a health clinic this Sunday, January 19th, from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. And we'll be hosting this clinic. Please let the folks know that this is happening, so the needy folks or whosoever is in need of any health check, they can attend. There is a story time from basically it's arranged by Mosen Dallas. You can join engaging with your family through this event next Saturday, January 25th, from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. It's a good opportunities again for participation for the family. There'll be a journal body meeting. Mark your calendars, inshallah, for Sunday, February 2nd, after Gohar, for our journal body meeting. And also, please support the engagement efforts, whatsoever is going on in the community. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
أشهد أن محمد رسول 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 الله.
حي على الصلاة.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
حي على الصلاة.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
حي على الفلاح.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
حي على الفلاح.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
الله أكبر، الله أكبر.
الله أكبر، الله أكبر.
لا إله إلا الله.
لا رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمد وصيلة ورحمة وابعث مقام محمود الذي وعد. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Amma ba'd. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, in less than a month and a half, the momentous opportunity, occasion, and guest of the month of Ramadan will be upon us. Insha'Allah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us life and allow us to reach it. And we know from this month, one of the most frequently recited verses in the Quran refers to why fasting was prescribed for us in the month of Ramadan. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. I'm not going to explain this particular ayat, but to focus that, all it means to say is, this fasting of the month of Ramadan was sent to us. We were commanded and ordained to fast such that we can achieve taqwa. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Taqwa. Taqwa is translated in many ways into English. Righteousness, piety, God consciousness. These are some of the meanings of this. The literal meaning of the word taqwa, though, when we go to the Arabic, it is a barrier. And in the Islamic sense, taqwa is placing a barrier between you and the wrath or punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning it is through taqwa that we spare ourselves from being punished. And that's why when you say God consciousness, it means you have Allah on your mind in every action you do or that you choose not to do. You think, does this bring me closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Would Allah be pleased by this? Or does this take me away from Allah? Would this anger Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is the embodiment of taqwa. Now, that ayah mentions how Ramadan is to achieve this. There is another verse, famous verse from Surah Al-Baqarah that covers this as well and goes into much more detail. You can say this one ayah is a manual towards becoming from the muttaqun. It's an amazing ayah. It's not short either. But this ayah is a guide. A step-by-step process. It begins by clarifying what is not righteousness. And then it proceeds to explain what belief and actions constitute the people of taqwa, the muttaqun. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله. ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب ولكن البر من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتاب والنبيين وآتى المال على حبه ذوي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل والسائلين وفي الرقاب وأقام الصلاة وآتى الزكاة والموفون بعهدهم إذا عاهدوا والصابرين في البأساء والضراء وحين البأس أولئك الذين صدقوا وأولئك هم المتقون. This amazing ayah could almost be argued to be the manual of righteousness, of becoming from al-muttaqun. So we're going to break down this ayah briefly, but I encourage you to study this more. The khutbah is only to bring issues to light. It is on the rest of us to take what we hear from the khutbah and to look further into it. We have a short time together, my dear brothers and sisters. So let's take this as just a reminder and the highlights. Do not think this is everything that this is about. This ayah goes very deep. There's so much more to it, and I encourage you to seek that for yourself. But let's discuss the meaning of this ayah and what it means briefly. لَيْسَ الْبِرُّ, righteousness is not in turning your faces towards the east or the west. But rather, righteous are the ones who believe in Allah. Point number one. The last day, the angels, the books, and the prophets. So right now we have 5 pillars of belief that constitute righteousness. Who give charity out of their cherished wealth to their relatives, orphans, the poor, needy travelers, beggars, and for freeing captives. Who establish the prayer, they pay the zakah, they keep the pledges that they make, and they are patient in times of suffering, adversity, and the heat of battle. These are the people that are true in faith, and they are the ones who are conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 15 points. 5 pillars of belief. 10 actions or characteristics. This ayah is a recipe toward attaining this awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, you might say, but isn't awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a state? Are you aware or are you not? Actually, Islam distinguishes itself from the other ways of life in this world, in that Islam always is the combination of the belief and the action. Belief is demonstrated through actions of worship that are pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no such thing in Islam as someone who believes and has no actions whatsoever to represent that belief. It's impossible. Part of our belief is that we express it through our actions of worship, in as much as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the ability to do so. So quickly, let's talk about these things. The pillars of faith. We know these. In fact, there are 6 full ones. Allah has expressed them as 5 here. That is, that we believe in Allah, the last day, the angels, the books, and the prophets. The only one not mentioned here, for whatever reason in this ayah Allah did not include it, is the belief in the qadr and the qada, the predestination, the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what has happened and what is to happen. It is all by the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's also understood that this is mentioned through other things that are in this ayah. So it's simple. Believing in Allah, the last day, the angels, the books, and the prophets. We can go a little bit at length if you want about the order of these. Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the first, but then also mentioning the last day as the second item, and then so on. But the point is, we have to have these beliefs. These beliefs step us towards taqwa. After this, we talk about the actions that are beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And notice that these are giving the sadaqah. One of the most emphasized points here is giving of what you love to others. Giving of what you love. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala highlights it's from what you love. It's one thing that you give what's easy to give. That's nothing, that's good. Keep doing that, don't stop. But to give from what you love. I love this particular watch, let's say. Give it fi sabilillah. I love a certain land. Give it fi sabilillah. I love something, some possession of mine. Or I love my wealth. I love my bank account to be such and such number. Give from it until you are uncomfortable. After you take care of your needs, give after that. But notice that it mentions, but who do you give to? Your relatives first. My dear brothers and sisters, an important point here. Taqwa is not that you give millions and millions and millions overseas and your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your cousin, your children are struggling here. We can go into all the problems and the family problems that people have where they are not giving to, they're not speaking with relatives. And then as a result, you don't know when they are struggling because you're not in touch with them. This, my dear brothers, it doesn't matter what you do after this. If you have relatives that are struggling and you are not the first in line to help them, if you are not aware, subhanAllah, I don't know what of the rest of your deeds are going to be counted, subhanAllah. Allah is mentioning this, taqwa, because what does it start with? I guess this is the important point. Allah didn't start by explaining what is taqwa. He didn't start by saying what is al-bir, righteousness. He started by saying what is not. Now it's interesting because what does turning your head to the right, east and the west have to do with taqwa? It has to do with the context of the revelation of this ayah. Because this came down after the instructions for the qibla changed. The qibla at the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was initially towards Jerusalem, Al-Quds. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free Al-Quds and free the people of Palestine and give us, give them glad tidings and relief from their difficulties and struggles. Ameen. That was the original qibla at the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. When I say original, at his time. The original qibla was always Mecca. But it turned to Al-Quds for some time. The instruction came down to turn and return the qibla to pray back towards Mecca. And of course, the Yahud of Medina, they were making all kinds of mockery of the Prophet ﷺ, the companion. They said, oh, he doesn't know which way to pray. And as if to say, for them, they understood that for them, the rituals, the points, the checklists are what they consider, like the actions of law, were how they interpreted righteousness. This ayah came down to clarify righteousness is not by actions alone. It's not, you do not become close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on the direction you're praying, if it's this way or if it's that way. Whereas this was the understanding. And until now, some people have this understanding. Righteousness is in which madhab you follow, which shaykh you are following. I don't mean following or not following. Some people consider it to be more righteous to follow so-and-so than so-and-so. Some people consider people from this nation to be more righteous because they do things a certain way versus another thing. Whereas Islam doesn't have this. We need to correct ourselves. What is righteousness? Allah says it right here. It has nothing to do with origin. It has nothing to do with place. It has nothing to do with whether or not you have wealth. It has to do with what you do with what Allah gave you. So, it has nothing to do with looking to the right and to the left, or to the east and to the west, or which direction you're praying, or how long your beard is, or how short your thobe is, or anything. It has nothing to do with these exterior things. Yes, there are things we should do that take that shape, but those don't define your righteousness. First is the iman, the belief. Then it is how you spend your wealth. Then it is how you have sabr. And these deeds, my dear brothers and sisters, are how we attain this taqwa, this elusive thing that it's actually very straightforward, but it has to do more than anything else with what is beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَقُولِ قَوْلِ هَذَا وَاسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهُ لِي وَلَكُمْ فَاسْتَغْفِرُوهُ إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. My dear respected brothers and sisters, as we wrap up this khutbah, it's a big topic. I encourage you to look into it more. See what the other scholars have said about this. See what the people of knowledge say about this and taqwa itself, because taqwa is the means to save yourself, ourselves, from the punishment on the day of judgment. And in fact, it is in this life, it would save us from many, many evil things as well that we may not understand or appreciate until it's too late. Taqwa is a means of drawing ourselves away from what is evil and bringing us close to what is righteousness. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to instill in our hearts the means and the desire and the guidance to go into the direction of taqwa. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with taqwa. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cause us to become from al-muttaqun. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant relief to our brothers and our sisters all throughout the world, those that are suffering and going through trials and tribulations in Palestine, in Syria, in Yemen, in Iraq, in Sudan, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Myanmar, in China, in Egypt, in Libya, in Somalia, in all of our Muslim brothers and sisters, whom we know and whom we don't know, and anyone in fact who is undergoing any kind of oppression or trial or difficulty, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to lift that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy and to give shifa to Sheikh Muhammad Jibari. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant him a full recovery and to bring him back to us better than how he separated from us, and to allow us to continue to benefit from him. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the very best in the dunya and the akhirah. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ رَبَّنَا لَا تُؤَاخِذْنَا إِن نَّسِينَا أَوْ أَخْطَأْنَا رَبَّنَا وَلَا تَحْمِلْ عَلَيْنَا إِصْرًا كَمَا حَمَلْتَهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِنَا رَبَّنَا وَلَا تُحَمِّلْنَا مَا لَا طَاقَةَ لَنَا بِهِ وَاعْفُ عَنَّا وَاغْفِرْ لَنَا وَارْحَمْنَا أَنْتَ مَوْلَانَا فَانصُرْنَا عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الْكَافِرِينَ وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله